University of Southern California, and today's presentation by the Thornton School of Music. Out of respect for our artists, please silence your cell phones and electronic devices. Photography of any kind is prohibited. In the event of an emergency, proceed calmly to the nearest exit. Please note that the nearest exit may be located behind you. Thank you, and enjoy the performance.
Recital. This topic is composing Taiwan from within and beyond. Before we dive into it, I want to talk a little bit about how I came up with this topic and why this is important to me. We all know that there are a lot of composers who make classical music, including very well-known composers such as Chopin, Beethoven, or Bach. These pieces are so popular to a point that if you tell me that you don't know any of these composers, I will be very shocked. And their music are so expressive and full of emotion, which we all know. However, there are actually more composers that are underrepresented, not just the famous one. From what I observed, we're starting to focus more on neglected composers. For example, these three composers are some that I've personally discovered that were not as well known until recent years. Due to this efforts of unearthing lesser known composers, we now know quite a few of them that we didn't heard before, such as Nathaniel Dett, Amy Beach, and Cecile Chamoun. There are actually more composers yet to be discovered. These are composers that are somewhat known in the countries, but not in the general music world. For instance, Mexican composers Manuel Ponce and Brazilian composer Francisco Braga, as well as Icelandic composer John Leifs. These composers made really good music, and they deserve greater attention. So there are even more composers that are important, but are not yet uncovered. So today, I want to take this opportunity to focus on composers from Taiwan. As a result, today, my lecture recital will be focused on two composers from Taiwan, Shuilok Ma and Taiwan Xiao. So I was actually born and raised in Taiwan, and when I was young, I was fascinated by Western composers, and the only music that I wanted to learn are also from the well-known composers. And the older that I got, the more I realized that there's more to explore outside of Western canon. In Taiwan, our music education is heavily Westernized. In this case, music students, they usually tend to focus on Western composers, and some of them don't even know any of the Taiwanese composers. And because of this, I feel a strong impetus to promote the work of my homeland, and as they are seldom or never heard by people both in Taiwan and in the US. Their impact on Taiwan's music history is profound, and I hope their works can be heard and appreciated by more people. So, today I'll be starting off with Shuilok Ma and Taiwan Xiao. So, agenda for this evening, first I'll be discussing why I decided to talk about these two composers and explain why I named this presentation Within and Beyond. And then I will secondly dig into two composers discussing their contrasting backgrounds and their musical language, along with some musical example from the pieces I'm going to play later tonight. Lastly, I'll compare the two and then draw to a conclusion at the end. So, you might ask me, why are these two composers? First of all, they were born 1 year apart and died in the same year. Their parallel lifespan piqued my curiosity to explore how they might have contributed to Taiwan's music history with the same timeline. Secondly, they are both influential in Taiwan. They both played a significant role in shaping our music. Okay, so you might also ask, why do you name this Within and Beyond? That's a really good question. So it's because, Ma, he studied in Germany, and he was able to spend the rest of his life back in Taiwan to compose within Taiwan. However, for Xiao, being in Taiwan was something he could only dream of. He was unable to return to Taiwan, and in fact, he was blacklisted and forbidden to enter Taiwan for more than a decade. Eventually, he was able to go back to Taiwan, but most of his music was composed during this time in the US. So, as you can see, Ma composed within Taiwan, and Xiao composed abroad, outside of Taiwan. So that's why I named this Within and Beyond. Okay, so I talked a little too much, so let's get into the topic. We'll first talk about Sri Long Ma. He studied in Germany, and he was the first Taiwanese composer ever to perform his work at Lincoln Center in New York. And his music integrates Eastern elements with Western compositional techniques. So, after his performance in Lincoln Center, the New York Times comments, Ma let his instruments speak in a European way, but with an Asian mind. So now, we will dig into his music in detail with the example from his Taiwan suite, which was composed in 1965. In this suite, there are 4 movements with titles referring to Taiwanese festival practices, ritual, and collective cultural life. So, first movement, tempo; second movement, religious procession; third, lion dance; and fourth movement, the Lantern Festival. As you can see, these are all title music. So, you can tell that the composer actually composed this music with a very clear and specific image in mind. Okay, so now let's dig into Ma's compositional style and how he blends the East and the West, the two traditions. In this excerpt of the second movement in this set, it's very clear how he integrates the element from the two traditions. So, if you look at the second and fourth movements, these are actually called fantasia, like free form, almost like improvisational. Fantasia is a very standard musical form that originated from Baroque period. So within this Western form, he integrated the direct quotation from Beiguan's music, and it's in pentatonic scale. Beiguan is a type of traditional Asian music that can still be found in Taiwan or in Fujian province in China. Ma uses Western as a form and composes with the elements of the East. In his music, he also used some Chinese instruments in his music. For example, the first movement, tempo, you can see there are actually 2 different instruments that you can find in tempo. So let's see if you can hear the special sonorities from these 2 instruments. very distinct sonority from the tempo block and the bell. He also used the rhythm from the drumming of lion dance. Lion dance, just so you know, it's a traditional dance in Taiwan and China to celebrate the important moments. In this video, look at how the lion moves and what does the drumming sound like. So the similar pattern is actually used in his third movement, lion dance, as a motive. So you can actually hear the lifelessness of lion dance in this musical composition. He also liked to use the different instruments and compose in his piano composition. For example, guzhen. In this video, listen for the trios in the right hand and arpeggio in the left hand. Exact same technique was used in his fourth movement, Lantern Festival. Another technique on guzhen is the strumming technique that he also composed in his composition. Here. And let's see how he did it on his piano work. So, an overview of Ma's compositional style. First, he developed his music language in Taiwan. And his music is less lyrical, more experimental. And he oftentimes blends the two traditions, the East and the West. And with all the previous examples, you can get to the conclusion that he actually advocated the preservation of Taiwanese music. So I believe it's very clear how he protected Taiwan culture through his musical ideas. So, after talking about Ma, let's talk about Taiwan Xiao. Xiao studied composition here in LA, in Cal State's Los Angeles. Studied composition with Dr. Byung-Kong Kim and studied piano with Dr. Milton Stern. And like I said, he was actually blacklisted and forbidden to enter Taiwan for more than a decade, 12 years more specifically. And that was due to some political issue with the Taiwanese government. And so because of that, imagine that you are unable to return home for more than a decade, and you're 6,000 miles away from the people you love. I can only feel how devastating it is. And because of this, his homesickness became a part of his artistic identity. During his time in the US, he attended a Taiwanese church in Temple City, which just so happened to be the same exact church that I go to today. To this day, church people would still mention how Xiao was talented enough to compose music for the church and how his music was sounding like Taiwan. So, as we mentioned about church, we should talk about his religious influence. As a devout Christian, Xiao reinterpreted Western hymn, composing them with new melodies and harmonies, and translate the text from English to Taiwanese. By doing this, he kind of recomposed hymns through a Taiwanese lens. So let me actually demonstrate the first few measures of a hymn that he composed that was based on the text, "He leadeth me, O blessed thought." So, as you can see, due to the hymn influence, his music is highly easy to sing and with large harmony to support. And due to this religious influence, it leads to his neo-romanticism, neo-romantic compositional style. So, let's talk a little bit about his compositional style. Neo-romantic music tend to be highly emotionally saturated. And Xiao's music follows this trend based on the music that you just listened to. You might have noticed that his melody is very lyrical with clear phrasing, and the texture is featured a long lyrical line over very lush harmonic support. And his harmony, as you can hear, is a little chromatically enriched like Chopin. So apparently he has some influence by the Western composers. And during an interview, he actually credited Rachmaninoff, Bartók, and Chopin as important influences on his style, along with Presbyterian hymn and Taiwanese folk music. To better understand this, here are some of the examples that shows this influence from Western composers, including this excerpt from his Farewell Etude, Opus 55. The texture is very similar to one of the Chopin Etude. Yes, it's Chopin Etude, Opus 25, number 5. The second thing, they both have the similar texture with triplet arpeggiated accompaniment and the melody in the middle voice. Let's listen to it a little bit, and I will play Chopin first, and then I'll play the Farewell Etude. This is Chopin. Farewell Etude by Xiao. Very similar, right? It's very similar. And also, they're both titled as an etude, and their opus number finished with 5. What are the odds? Okay, so the next one, this rhythm of his Playground Opus 49, number 3, is very similar to Brahms' Intermezzo Opus 117, number 3. Okay, let's listen to this a little bit. First, Brahms. So as you can see, the rhythm is actually composed exactly the same in Brahms, Intermezzo, Opus 117, number 3. Okay, so through these two examples, we can actually see the influence from Western composers in his music and how he presents it through his music. To continue with his compositional style, his inability to return home became his artistic identity. Xiao's works are highly emotional and personal, as music for him is a medium for him to reflect his longing for Taiwan. And therefore, he created this suite, Memory of Home, Opus 49, which was composed in 1987. And 6 movements, these are all title music, so with a very specific image in mind. And within these 6 movements, the second movement, Memory, is the most, probably one of the most famous tune in Taiwan. As I mentioned earlier, Xiao wasn't able to return to Taiwan. During this time, he made many music to express his longing for home. Among all the music he made, this piece, Memory, is probably one of the most well-known pieces. This music was first made for vocal and with the text, "We are all sojourners." Allow me to read through the text, which has been translated from English to Taiwanese. We are all sojourners from the distant land of Taiwan. Though I can speak in English and our languages may connect, our hearts do not. We are all sojourners. Far away in Taiwan are our families and friends and family, thinking of us from time to time. Everyone says America is a paradise, a place that makes people truly admire. But if you ask me what I think, paradise is not here. Although English translation does a great job bringing out the meaning of the text, there are certain nuances that can only be expressed precisely through Taiwanese version. So I will now read the text again in Taiwanese. 厝外人，咱拢是厝外人，对远远的台湾来。虽然我会讲美国话，英语会通，心会通，咱拢是厝外人。伫远远的台湾遐，有咱的朋友甲亲人。 唔是互相的思念或笑脸。人人来讲，美国是天堂，互人真欣赏。若是问伊讲是怎样，天堂唔是伫遮。You know, I feel a little weird because some of my church members are actually here and they are Taiwanese speaker. So, anyways, okay. So, the text is very touching and expressive, reflecting his emotional connection to his homeland. In this text, he wrote, although he can speak in English, his heart would never connect. It is quite extreme because even as an international student, I can still connect with my friends here. But reading through the text, you can really tell how deep his longing for Taiwan is. And now, I'm going to demonstrate you the song first with my friend, and then I will play the piano solo version. So please now welcome my friend Xin Yo, who was a former USC student that also goes to the same church Xiao attended. And then we'll play you the first section of the song, and immediately after that, I will play the piano solo version. So let's welcome Xin Yo.
Taiwan
So that song was very expressive. Now I'm going to play you the piano solo version that he composed in this set. So that's the really famous tune or piece in Taiwan. Okay, so by the way, did any of you remember the first page of my presentation? There's actually a musical excerpt that was embedded. This is actually one of the most well-known folk tunes called Spring Wind, 望春风. This piece was to describe a young girl's expectation of love and her shy emotions. And then Xiao kind of arranged this into piano solo version. So, you can see how much he was fascinated by this tune because he composed this piece not only for piano solo, but also for violin and piano, for choir, as well as for the orchestra. In an interview, he even said that when using Taiwanese folk song as a material in musical composition, I wanted to express my permanent love for Taiwan. So as you can see, composing music is his way to describe how much he loved Taiwan. So, an overview of his music. His music was very easy to perceive and understand due to his hymn and neo-romanticism influence. And he was influenced by Western composers, church hymn, as well as Taiwanese folk songs. And his music usually expressed his longing for a home. Centered on the spirit of Taiwanese elements, his music integrates techniques from Western neo-romanticism to cultivate a new form of Taiwanese music in a way that's very easy to understand and to appreciate. So, today we talk about Shui Long Ma. His music was experimental, less lyrical, and his music usually blends the two traditions of the East and the West. We also learned about Tzu-Jung Peng. His music was a neo-romantic compositional style, and his music is extremely lyrical and easy to perceive. His music is also very emotional and personal. They both dedicate their artistry to shape the growth of Taiwanese music and inspire generations to come. So one of them composed within Taiwan, one of them composed from afar. Through different language of sound, Shui Long Ma and Tzu-Jung Peng, they both gave voice to the heart of Taiwan. Thank you so much again for coming to my session. I wanted to know, I wanted to let you know that if you want access to my slide, you can scan the QR code in the program. And finally, I wanted to say that although Western composers, they have a lot of music that we enjoy a lot, there are still many other lesser-known composers whose work are also worth highlighting. This world is not short of beauty, but it's up to us to discover it. Thank you so much. small reception